Well, we have some not complicated stuff in this match. Divine Shield around class. That means it's been protected and was ineligible for a ban. Pretty standard stuff on these sides. We have a mirror match in terms of lineups. Combo Priest protected on both sides. Warrior Band away from both sides. Quest Druid, Holy Wrath Paladin are ones outside of this Priest mirror match that we have. This is exactly how I would have written it out if you told me I had to make a guess for my life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is Priest first. Both of them, love to see it.
Pheno, a couple weeks in his interview, he said, I don't know why people aren't protecting Priest. And he said, Orange's teammate, Orange protected his mage that week. Didn't work out for him. And Pheno said, protecting the mage was stupid. You know, a very joking jab about it. But that's Pheno. He'll tell it like it is. He'll say what he's feeling. And honestly, I don't disagree with him. Priest is ridiculously strong. Despite what we've seen today, Priest has been just an absolute dominant force in this expansion.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've queued Priest first like 6 of my last games. So,
you feel like a queue Priest first gamer to me.
Yeah, I am. Best deck, win the game. Second best deck, win the game. It's really not that complicated.
So, does that mean you're queuing Priest again first tomorrow?
Well, is it the best deck still? There's one time where I queued Warrior first, and I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fun.
Well, how are you feeling about this game right now? Whose spot are you in, and who do you think's favored from this spot? Pheno was on coin, but he opened with Northstar Cleric. Jarla, not on coin, but he's opened with Light Warden.
In these kinds of spots, I would hesitate to say either player's favorite. It really depends on whether Jarla values playing the Silence here. If Jarla plays the Silence here, you're looking at Inner Fire just being really powerful.
What if you just play everything?
Here's a next level play for you. You silence the Cleric and you hit the Cleric.
I feel like this was pretty next level. I didn't expect this.
I wanted to go one level deeper. And there's a lot to talk about and why I think the silence might be correct here.
Make it quick.
Okay. You silence the 1/3, you hit it. That means that they have to heal it to get it back up to kill your Cleric. That means your 1/2s are getting bigger. If they don't do that, then it's only going to... If they don't heal and they only Inner Fire, then it means they need a Power Word Shield to make a 1/4 to Inner Fire it, which means that's a pretty specific hand. You're fine most of the time, right? So
Beaming Sidekick?
That's another one, but it's still a pretty specific hand because they also need to have the Inner Fire there as well. With this line, if they have an Inner Fire, they can Inner Fire over the Cleric and just not heal.
But now you get to silence.
But you lost your Cleric.
But they lost an Inner Fire.
But you'd rather lose your Cleric. You'd rather not lose your Cleric.
They lost their Cleric.
You'd rather not lose your Cleric with the current hand. You went all in this game, and they're definitely going to get more value out of it than you are.
You still have your Cleric.
Because he didn't kill the 1/2? Huh.
Well, Jarla still has a Cleric. The Light Ward's been killed off. Well, what now, Mr. Gallen? Walk me through it.
But he could have killed the one.
I talked to you about this. I told you as soon as you started to explain everything.
And it could have been killed.
But they didn't. Why?
I agree.
Go. Why didn't they?
I don't know.
I'm thinking this Extra Arms is exactly why.
The Extra Arms would still work against the 3/2, right?
I'm not convinced you'd have a board left.
Well, that's just like an entirely huge deviation. It would be like 8 things. And this is turn 3. A lot to think about.
There's a ton to think about.
It feels like you're condensing 8 turns of Hearthstone into 2.
Yes. And Priest decisions are very difficult, but they're very important, they're very powerful, and they're very magnified.
Well, look at what Jarla's doing right now. Is if he trades, the Extra Arms becomes incredibly weak.
I think if you don't trade, it's still pretty weak.
Job's done.
I think it gets weaker if you do trade.
That was a free damage, Gallen. You always push the 1.
But you lose the 1/2 this way now.
You know best. Push the 1.
The second Cleric is a fantastic pickup.
Is it?
Believe it or not.
Pheno rolls his eyes. This has been a slugfest in the early game.
These are some good draws.
Oh, someone's injured, all right.
Would you rather have had the 2/6 there? I think so. I think at this point, you're not going to be spending mana to commit to healing.
In hindsight, I'd rather have the 2/6, yeah, after seeing what just happened. I think this game's out of control for Fino now.
That's upsetting.
He needs a big draw. I'm looking at Divine Spirit on Jarla's side. I am very interested.
Got to be thinking about the more arms in Fino's hand.
I wonder.
With that in mind and the silence being used, maybe you just Divine Spirit the 3/4 here.
I am very interested.
Yeah.
You don't typically win this matchup by using Divines and Inner Fires to deliver combo damage. You typically do it by seizing the board.
Yeah, it's just, you can either heal for +2 health or Divine Spirit for +4 health, and +4 health is more than +2.
And that means you should have Divine Spirited first.
Yeah. Still doing it is better than not doing it.
I agree. A rare misstep from Jarla. He was so excited to kill that cleric.
Even still, in the grand scheme of things, I think analyzing that, saying, yes, I did make a mistake, I'm still going to go with the play that's obviously a mistake instead of, like, trying to conceal it.
Yeah, why would you try and conceal it? It's still better.
I agree, but a lot of people have this mentality of, oh, no, if I do this, then my opponent will see that I messed up, so I have to do a different line now.
And being embarrassed is much worse than still making a better play.
Yes, being embarrassed is... That's the thing, though, is like some people have that mentality.
Well, stop having that.
It's very common.
It is very common.
It's very common.
I have felt that pressure myself.
I think it's important as a competitor to realize, hey, I did make a mistake. I can still win this game. I should be playing towards that. And that's even true if your play, like, you can't do the play anymore. A lot of times...
Another Divine Spirit.
It's pretty good. You can make a 5/20.
Fino plays 2 copies of Silence.
Probably don't want to
Jarla.
go 5/20.
Jarla also plays 2 copies of Silence.
I'm starting to not like this 5/20 idea. I want to... If I was in Jarla's spot, I feel like healing an injured Tol'vir makes some sense.
You know the More Arms is there.
Yeah, but if they're committing their entire turn to doing that, I feel like More Arms is a pretty huge committal.
So you're floating 2 mana? Or are you sticking
You could
something?
Divine Spirit afterwards, for
Okay.
example.
So you want to spend the full 6 and just make a big taunt.
I want to draw a card. I think this hand right now is not the greatest. This seems fine.
I feel like as it stands that Jarla has recognized the position he's in, which is keep the board at bay. I land the first Bwonsamdi. As long as I'm not super far behind, that means I'll be super far ahead.
So it's similar to the... So this way, he's saying, even if he has the extra arms, like...
Oh, boy.
It just doesn't really...
Oh, boy.
Fino's already seen a silence, right?
Yeah, but there's 2 copies in Jarla's deck.
You put him on having only 1 silence. Jarla has the 2nd silence. Makes sense to me, but Fino's going to get punished for it.
It's gonna sting!
Oh. You could full clear it if you want. You
Yeah.
can go Wild Pyromancer, silence, More Arms, just kill it.
You could heal up your Wild Pyro in the meantime as well. Keep it around 3-1.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense.
And I think
Plays around Bwonsamdi very well.
What
Don't land your
is
first
in
Bwonsamdi,
one's
but you
way?
have a heaping pile of board position.
You draw a
versus it.
card alongside that play as well. You kill a 6/20. Kill a 6/20, draw a card, develop more into the board for 7 mana.
Just the fact that I'm hearing you kill a 6/20 because of a Wild Pyromancer and a 0-cost card is ridiculous.
Fino knows about the extra arms, or the More Arms. Wild Pyromancer and Cleric are very powerful together.
Name a more iconic duo.
Stalag and Fugan. They're very duo.
Excellent work.
Thank you. Jarla has some really good plays and some other really good plays.
I wonder.
I'm not so convinced that he's got a crushing lead, though. I pretty much am, but I'm not thoroughly convinced.
you still have a huge board advantage after this turn.
You do, but you have a lot of that gets chunked away.
From your other side, he's only drawing a Beaming Sidekick off his
What is
one zombie,
anyone's
correct?
will?
I believe that's the case.
So the draw was fairly unfortunate for him this turn specifically, but that's going to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't think it's going to be a huge deal.
I'm not even necessarily convinced that you wanted to play Zombie this turn because I'm pretty interested in just continuing the card draw from this Northshire.
Zombie is just the biggest minion that you can play.
That means bump bump.
You know the entire range of Fino's hand.
Thinking of a draw for Fino. It's not it.
You might need to just pass this turn. Well, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of all the hands that win here. It's you need a Wild Pyromancer, you need a spell, you need to activate your circle. If you use a circle here, it's bad. If you get the Pyromancer off the top, that means you have no spells to activate with the circle. That's bad, which means
absorb damage somehow, right?
You probably gotta wait.
If you do nothing, you are dead in 2 turns.
Absolutely.
So that tells me you got to play something.
You got to play something. Here.
So that sounds like Light Wardens to me.
Yeah. Light Warden, Hero Power Pass.
That's at least not passing.
Yes.
You're doing something.
Yeah.
And then you need the big draw.
There's definitely hands where you can like get away with it. Fino still needs to get a Pyromancer and a spell off the top of his deck.
Fino's going fishing.
In the light's name. In the light's name.
Oh, killing the opponent's cleric. I think this benefits Jarla more than Fino.
I think Fino's trying to find a way out of a spot that he's very unlikely to win.
Yes, very unlikely to win. This way he makes 2 7/2s. Maybe you can test the 5/11 with that way.
I mean, this is the most board position he could have made, was this.
Yeah. Got to see if there's lethal here. There's 21 in play with just this. If you heal up the cleric, it's going to be a 5/13, 5/15, 22.
9 plus 15 plus 1.
Anyone's will?
How much is that? 24, 25. You can make it 27 with the Beaming Sidekick.
What that says to me is there's probably a play that we can do that always wins this game by just taking a turn off. This is a turn where option paralysis might be a killer.
And that means do something decisive. I wonder if he spotted a line for lethal. I didn't think about Beaming Sidekick on that.
No, this actually does make sense, right? Because now you push...
Yeah, I think it's this fight for board. I think that Jarla has recognized quite correctly.
This is 26. Okay. Sorry, I was just doing the math on everything else. This is interesting to me. I feel like topsy-turvying the 1/2 to kill the 2/1 was a bit better. Circle off the top, that is going to lock it up.
I think that the play that Jarla made locked it up.
Yeah.
He said, wait, if I just squelch the board, how do I lose?
That's what I wanted to do. I think Jarla made the right line. You know, there were draws off the top for him to win the game, but instead he just chose the 100% guaranteed. If I clear this board, I always win.
Time is a resource.
Yeah.
If you use that time improperly, things can go really bad. If you just crush everything that Fino had in play, how does he do anything?
You gotta avoid the option paralysis.
Because the board is a resource too. And if you don't have a board and your opponent does, that's a massive resource deficit. There's probably some tricky way there that Jarla could have found lethal. Why bother? Kill everything they have. The nature of the matchup is that Fino cannot recover that spot.
It seemed very difficult or impossible for Fino to win after he cleared the board. Jarla spots it.
It did seem that way.
Out of cards.
have to imagine there's lethal
counted
here.
32.
If you never set the cleric, it goes up to like a 522 or some very large number like that.
I think Jarla spotted the one that I did as well, which is the Power Word Shield. So with the never set Ritualist, it is much, much more, I believe. Yeah, that's
20.
much, much more.
Yeah.
Game 1 to Jarla. Goes through the entire deck and then some.
And it wasn't just going through the motions at the very end. You know, he had a very complicated turn, simplified it, moved the game state to a more simple spot, and a more easy, like just an easier spot for him to win from. I liked it.
Yeah, I think it's a demonstration of, you've mentioned the term option paralysis a couple times, and I really like that for talking about this matchup specifically, because you often are faced with an overwhelming number of options. And so figuring out different ways to manage that and find lines that are just as effective in terms of percent as closing the lethal that turn is important, because the lethals in Priest versus Priest matchups in those end states, they're often hidden, and it requires you to draw a massive number of cards in order to do it, in a situation where there is literally no way you can lose if you can crush the board spot.
So I'm going to tell you right now, generally I hate when someone misses lethal, but I think it's okay to miss lethal if it's like a position like that, where there's just this very complicated 35 action sequence to get the lethal, or you just kill the board, play your board again, and you win the next turn 100% of the time. I think in those spots, it's totally okay. If you 100% have guaranteed won the game, not taxing your brain, just moving it to a simple
100%
spot.
100%.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how you slice it.
So I love it. There may have been a complicated way to do it. I don't think I didn't spot it. So
it required drawing cards.
Yeah, and it just seemed like his line was significantly more consistent and easier to do.
I didn't see a way he lost him there.
Yeah.
Did you?
I did not.
Yeah.
I saw very many ways where he won.
Yeah, I did too. I guess was there a weird fatigue line maybe by keeping the Northshire up? Like if Fino has like a pyro circle, he'd use both circles.
You'd already seen the circles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had everything accounted for. He knew what was up. So I don't know. Maybe some math wizard can spot it, but it looked to me like a win's a win. We got to go to a quick break. When we come back, though, we're jumping into game number 2 of Jarla taking on Fino. Right now, Jarla's got a 1-0 lead, and Fino, just like Psycho earlier, he needs to win this match. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Around the Fern. I'm Nathan Zamora. That's Admirable, you can call me, and I'm joined today by a very special player. Please state your name.
Christos Tsakopoulos.
I thought it was Fino. Like I've always called you Fino at tournaments.
Well, yeah, people call me Fino, Fenomeno, whatever you want to
Okay,
go with.
well, you got to. I think you need to pick one of them though. It's not just Fenomeno
Let's
or Fino.
let's go with Feno. Let's go with Feno.
Feno.
Yeah.
Okay. You're happy with that?
Mm-hmm. I think it will be easier for you.
So where are you living right now, and what's that like? What's that like for you in Hearthstone?
Yeah, now I'm just living in Greece with my parents. We have a really big apartment, and on the first floor, there's like a movie theater that my dad
Like
operates.
a movie like you guys make movies there?
No, there's no movie making in the movie theaters. You just show the movie.
So like you just show them other
yes,
people?
people come and they can watch the movie in the movie theater.
But you don't make them.
No, we don't make them. We get the movie and we show the movie in the theater.
I thought the whole point of the movie.
Just sell tickets, we don't make movies, and people come and watch the movie.
Okay. Well, I get. Let's just agree to disagree on that. Fenomeno, Fino, Feno, whatever you want to call it.
I'm done.
But we're in an interview.
My real name is Jaromír Vyskočil, my in-game name is Jarla, and I'm playing for Team Nordawind. When I got the email about that I'm in Grandmasters, I was really happy because I have been in competitive Hearthstone for 2 years and few months, and this is something special, competing against the best players in Europe. I like control decks, and I always play really slow. Some people can hate that I really often end up roping the turn. Sometimes I also overthink stuff, so it sometimes could affect my decision in the end. But yeah, I'm mostly slow and control player. My hobbies outside of Hearthstone, I enjoy running, I enjoy playing football or ice hockey with friends. My goal for Grandmasters is probably avoid relegation, but I would like to win as well.
Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters. We're in our fourth match of the day right now as we speak. Jarla up a game over Fino. I'm Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, joined by America's Grandmaster, Edward Gallon. Why did I want to say Edwin for some reason? Because your last name's Goodwin. That's what it is.
It's very common.
Edward Gallon Goodwin.
I've been
Edward
preparing
Goodwin.
for it all my life.
If you take the last part of your last name and the first part of your first name, it's Edwin.
No, you're the first person to spot it. Anyways.
Like the Van Cleef.
There's a card named Edwin Van Cleef?
Yeah.
In Hearthstone?
Can you believe it?
Sounds like a 2/2 kind of card, though.
Yeah, as a singular card, it is a 2/2.
Yeah.
But when you combine it with other things, it gets +2/+2 for each other card you played in this turn. So it ends up being a pretty good card. I think it ends up being a pretty good card anyway. Either way, we're getting into game number 2. Jarla's going to be on Paladin. Fino's going to be on Quest Druid. And I like Fino's chances in this one. He has gone with a double Ferocious Howl list. And to me, that is absolutely critical in the matchup.
Yeah, double Ferocious Howl against specifically Paladin is very fantastic of a card. A lot of times, I feel like in the late game, one of the strategies that you can often see is people will just play Elise with double Howl to try to just gain the armor, get out of range of the double Holy Rash Travala combo. And you might even see, like, where right and left side matters in this matchup.
Yeah.
Like, the order of the cards that you play. Elise goes from left to right in the newest update. I think that was actually a fantastic update for consistency. But
for strategy as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can plan out your turns better. And that means that playing cards on the far right instead of the far left, you can manipulate.
Has implications.
Yes, it does.
Fino has Nourish early on. I think that's a critical device for him to have. Also has a Crystal Merchant early on. Also has Oasis Surge to Pressure early on. I feel like this is the makings of an advantage for Fino.
Jarla does start off with a Wild Pyromancer turn 2.
Weak draw on his side, though.
Yes. No Crystology. That is the big one. Oh, I apologize. He has played a Crystology this game. What am I talking about? The advantage for Fino right now is that he has a Raft. Means he will not be taking that much damage from this Wild Pyromancer. He can get to the late game. Doesn't need to worry about expending one of his critical resources.
Well, now Jarla's draw is looking pretty fantastic. Picked up the Prismatic Lens. Yeah. I'd say if any singular piece of non-Holy Wrath card draw showed up, I was going to like his chances a lot
Something
more.
to keep in mind, though, is that if he wants to play for just max tempo, play Elven Archer face, that means Prismatic Lens and Flash of Light both get significantly worse. If he plays those cards, then the 1/1s will just die. The chip damage that he does want in this matchup will go away.
I think that's important to talk about. You know, it looks a little bit weird that he's just played the Wild Pyromancer early on. You know, a lot of times you see this and you go, this is an auxiliary effect to help sweep out boards. But that's a tall order versus Druid, to say the least, because their minions just tend to be big anyway. And so, but playing for that chip damage, as you mentioned, I think that's such an important measure for Jarla in this game.
And what that says to me is that he does want to play that Prismatic Lens. You know, like there's just a lot of things going on. One of the big ones being you need to cycle through your deck as quickly as possible. Giving up that chip damage for cycle seems correct.
You have to do it efficiently though as well. You know, if you want maximum chip damage here, the play is trade in the 1/1 in Consecration.
That deals 5.
5's a lot.
5 is more than 0.
I'll tell you what, I'm not leaving the Crystal Merchant alive.
I agree with that. So then the play is you either have Prismatic Lens draw, but you lose your entire board doing that. Consecrate, you keep up a Wild Pyromancer and you push chip, but you're not cycling. And at some point, you do need to cycle through your deck.
Yeah. 2 important things that I have found when I'm playing this deck, and Jarla, I think, has exhibited this fantastically. I think he's one of the better pilots I've seen on this deck, is filling up turn 7. And when you're filling up turn 7, it's a hard thing to do. And so you have to figure out the best ways to make that happen. What is the absolute best way you can make sure your turn 7 is not atrocious? Because it often is. And so I think when you look at a line like this, something that's happening is that Jarla's looking at having Consecration versus Oasis Surgers pretty specifically, and saying that's going to be an important thing. And so I'm going to have time to cycle. Why not take that time?
It also feels like a good half measure where he's still putting on chip damage and he's cycling through his deck.
Yeah. I
Very
think
reasonable.
Great use of Flashlight in a matchup where you don't need to, that much anyway, you don't need to protect your life total. It's not going to be threatened until later stages of the game.
He figured out a way to sequence it very nicely.
And Lens begets Lens.
That's good. That's pretty much 1 mana draw 4 through your deck.
I will say, though, now, I am a bit concerned with
1
his
card
hand.
draw 4, I apologize. You're worried about turn 7 specifically?
I'm just worried about his hand being pretty clunky now. Like, it's being spaced out a little bit strangely. The Oasis Surger here is a massive threat, and he doesn't really have super efficient ways to protect this. So if you end up going with, like, Timeout and Prismatic Lens here, you go down to 8 cards, you go down to 7 cards, you go up to 9, and then in turn 7, you have to look at something.
Now,
But is this a spot where you want to time out?
I feel like with the Flash of Light being drawn, maybe High Priest of the Call and just Flash of Light yourself.
That feels like an ugly turn.
I wonder.
It feels less ugly than having to use a timeout here.
I agree, but I'm not looking for ugly turns. I'm looking for great turns through and through.
The thing about timeout is that timeout is a guaranteed extra turn at some point.
Yeah.
Correct? Using a timeout now, it feels a little bit like a waste. It'd be the same as just
Yeah, I agree.
passing a turn. So doing a play that does not involve using timeout this early on seems better than using a timeout early on.
Just accept your weak turn.
Yeah. You'd rather have a weak turn and an average turn than 1 good turn. And saving the timeout gives you a weak turn and an average turn. Because every turn you get an extra card, so there's already +1. There's a lot to think about.
It's turned into a confusing explanation. Ten connects.
Now this is starting to look like a timeout turn.
What do you do alongside of it?
God, that's a good question. Prismatic Lens? That sounds yucky. Maybe pick something off of Prismatic Lens that's
I'm telling you, he just finds ways. I think this is so smart, actually, where, you know, you are looking at a timeout style of turn, but perhaps you don't have to take one. And so I think a priority for Jarla right now is find the maximum way to give him a way to clear board and preserve timeouts. The timeouts are so crucial at the end because you need to be able to Shirvala, Holy Wrath, and timeout.
The problem here is that if you start looking at what Cenarius can do to your board, or just to your life total, Cenarius is going to push 19 here. 5 is really scary because that means double swipe or swipe plus floaty kills you.
Well, you could bump in Consecration. You got the lens in, you preserved the timeout.
This makes sense. You're getting out of range of that Cenarius. Fail scenario, I would say.
And you got a lot of cheap utility with that card draw in your hand, too. Like, he's going to be able to shred through this deck if he's got... Well, he doesn't have much one-tech stuff left, does he? That Christology is dead.
He's played 2 Novice Engineers this game. He's got an Acolyte.
Yeah, that Christology's dead.
Elven Archer. Yep. So that does not do anything. Makes his Shirvala cheaper.
2 mana. Spell.
Make your 25 mana card cost 23.
That's by proxy of the Shirvala. The Christology by itself right now? 2 mana. Spell.
2 mana spell. Procs counter spell. It's a really good card.
Fino's hand's not looking fantastic either. I think it's time to start delivering. That's the best way to do it, I think. Prompt answers. For Jarla, Consecration, Shrink Ray. Those are the cards he needs right now. They're both buried in the deck.
Does he need it right now?
It's getting really close.
We've got Jarla. Jarla has a couple turns.
You're at 8. You got a timeout here, I think.
You got a timeout.
Well, that's
I don't think that's necessarily like a terrible thing.
It's not a terrible thing, but it is step 1 towards a disaster, which is if you have to use your other timeout
Sure.
before you get to Shrivala Holy Wrath. If you cannot Shrivala Holy Wrath with a timeout, it makes the end game absolutely critical to have a stranglehold moving into that turn.
I don't think you have another option here as Jarla.
I agree.
Are you ever worried about playing an Acolyte of Pain and overdrawing cards?
You technically still need bankers. You definitely need the equality. You definitely need a Shrink Ray. You need one of those two.
What I'm saying is, if you play the Acolyte, do you think that from Fino's side, he's going to try to overdraw you? Because here you could overdraw a card. Oh, never mind. He played the 1/2 instead. If he had played the Blood Mage Thalnos, an overdraw could have happened.
Yeah, I think that for Jarla, you don't want to risk an overdraw. The tools feel too critical to me.
You might also still need to push the chip with the Blood Mage Thalnos. You got an extra damage.
It's possible, yeah.
Consecrate.
For Fino, the fact that he's out of card draw is worrying me a bit. He does have Innervate, and 2 Hidden Oasis already, though. And that's another kicker to the matchup. Usually that has to be done via Elise, and he just has it naturally.
I think that's going to be on his mind going forward. Just being able to do that. And it's also something from Jarla's side where he can't really afford to play around it, right? That's a very specific hand. You need 4 of the cards in the top 20-ish, I would say, by the time Jarla completes the combo.
I'm interested, because in order for Fino to protect himself in that scenario, he does need to use a Ferocious Howl. He's only at 22 right now.
Mm-hmm. You wonder if, from Jarla's perspective, well, if you're keeping track, you know that Shrivala is not going to be able to play this turn. So this turn, you got a freebie. But next turn, Shrivala Banker and just trying to rip a 1 and 8 is a very real thing. You know, maybe Jarla says, oh, I'm in a bad enough spot that just going for, you know, the 12.5% or the 16.6% lines with the, you know, 1 and 8, 1 and 7, 1 and 6, maybe that's my best out.
I think that's one of the toughest things about playing this deck is the ability to recognize that you're far enough behind that you need to take a risk in order to try and win.
And it's always going to be a huge risk. Right?
It's always a definable percentage.
Putting yourself at a 1 and 7 that is yucky. You don't want to be winning 1 in 7 games.
When you pass that turn, though, that's a guess. It could go up. It could go down. It's a tough call to make.
It comes up a lot in the Paladin Mirror, I think.
Shrink Ray and keep drawing. Nourish found.
He doesn't want to play the Innervates to get cards out of his hand.
For me, this should be Fino's top priority. Get deep into the deck. So right now, his priority when he plays that Innervate is find Elise.
Yeah.
Second Howl. Second Howl works. That helps extend that life total.
His Howl is one of the far left cards in his hand. If he plays Elise, it's very likely that he'll be able to clear out space for the second Howl, or the third Howl, I guess.
Because, I mean, Fino still needs powerful turns to take place.
Yep.
Something important to note on Jarla's side is that he's brought 2 True Silver Champions this week. Which means that Zephyrus is not active yet. You have no way to fetch True Silver Champion out of the deck other than drawing it. It's not like the Lens with the Christology, which is drawing specific cards.
Hey, he also has a Baleful. Remember that there's 2 Balefuls as well.
Exactly.
So it's just It's going to happen a little bit later. It's starting to look like this might be a timeout turn again.
That's a disaster.
That's a disaster.
Let me think.
That's just a hand of nothing. That hurts. I think it's starting to get to the point where Jarla might just be looking for a...
Move quickly.
I mean, he's got to draw banker first.
It's starting to look like he might be going for a 1 in 5, 1 in 4.
Seriously. But now he's got to connect 5 damage to make that happen as well.
Well, he has the 5 damage. If he can get the 6/6 through, like let's say he draws a Baleful off the top, Baleful's to Shirvala, Holy Wrath the Fino in the face, and Fino does not play a Ferocious Howl, right? Which are things that could reasonably happen. Jarla gets to go Zephyrus with a Soulfire plus the 4 damage for the True Silver Champion. The 2 Shirvalas that he plays will kill both of the taunt minions if the 2 taunt minions come out. However, Fino plays the Ferocious Howl, so he ignores that disaster scenario. Jarla might still be in a spot where he just is forced to go for it if he gets a Baleful off the top. Your hand screams one thing, which is you have one way to win.
I mean, he's running out of stuff. So there's a Hammer of Wrath left. There's an Equality left. There's 2 Baleful Bankers. And a True Silver?
Engaging TC-130.
That's not good. That takes a long time to get through the deck if that's the case.
Hammer of Wrath is just not the card if that's going to be the strategy going forward. All right, you got a Hammer of Wrath to 3/3 here, Jarla, and you got to hope you rip a Baleful, play a Shirvala, Baleful to Shirvala, and...
Hang on. If you Hammer of Wrath and draw a Banker, you have 6 mana with Zephyrus active.
I wonder.
Okay, and you're saying...
What is the alternative? Honestly, like, Jarla's not favored from this spot, but this is one of the styles of spots where I feel like he has played magnificently well.
The problem with it is that what do you get for 4 mana that's just going to win the game? It's going to be Shadow Word Death. It's going to be... Even Black Knight, if it was 4 mana, for example.
This is what I'm saying. Like, I seriously, like, how does he win?
I imagine it involves Hammer Wrapping the 3/3.
Means getting creative.
Drew the Baleful.
You shuffle this back in, and I think you hope you don't draw it. This gives you time.
And there's so many options at 2 mana. You could get like a Wind Fury as well. I'm not sure, man. It's so complicated. I like the Baleful and the Shirvala.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No, like playing the Shirvala and Balefulling it. The line that he took makes a lot of sense to me. Yes, Balefulling Shirvala is generally seen as correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. For Fino now, he's got to think about, well, that was weird. How do I lose?
You got a Druid of the Claw plus a Zephyrus.
He knows second True Silver's there. He knows there's a chance that he takes 25. He knows that Zephyrus is active.
He's got to play a lot of cards to get all that in. And the mana costs are just awkward enough.
Yeah, the game plan from Fino has fully transitioned, though. It's no longer deliver a lethal. It is stave it off.
Time waits for no one.
You ever think about the fact you could just run Augmented Elec Shirvala and then bank your 2 Shirvalas in? At that point, you don't even need this.
That's the kind of thought I like to hear. Replace that High Priest the call with an
Oh yeah,
Augmented
they're
Elec.
both spider tanks. One of them gives you an extra 0 mana 7/5 with.
It's the worst.
What do you mean?
He drew the Banker.
No, that's good. He didn't want to draw the Shirvala.
He wanted to draw the Equality.
I think this is still totally fine for him.
The True Silver?
The fail draw was the Shirvala. The Shirvala was
True
by
story.
far the worst draw in his deck. Jarla's looking at a 1 in 3 to be totally fine this game right now. totally fine-ish. Want to clarify.
I was like, well, let's
We just wanted to clarify that.
I wonder.
Paladin games get so tense. I love this deck. Like when I play it, my heart starts racing, and I'm like, oh, I have to do weird, dumb stuff.
So the max damage you can do is 29. You can go Holy Wrath, face, get a True Silver Champion, and a Shirvallah this turn.
Your wish is my suggestion.
Instead, going for potentially a Black Knight. Ooh, Tyrion.
That's extra damage. I think Fino can fend this off, though.
I think Fino wins with that draw.
5 plus
You can just
7.
silence the 6/6. You got 12 for damage face.
I counted 5 plus 7, which sounds like 12 to me. Swipe,
Yeah.
attack, and Lodi, go face.
You don't even need the Zephyrs. I was seeing Zephyrs silence.
Jarla was under a ton of pressure. Fino found a nice middle ground here between the two game plans. It was both that he accomplished. He transitioned into staying non-lethal, but at the same time kept the pressure going.
Yeah, he forced Jarla into a disaster scenario where he had to A, play his timeouts before he wanted to, B, banker Shirvallah with no guarantee that he was going to be able to deal 25 with it, C, just put him in a spot where he had to go for a weird, hopefully the Zephyrus works kind of line, and clearly it did not.
Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't enough to fend himself off there. And you can see why Jarla was going for a Tyrion in that spot. A, he needed damage. B, he needed defense. So he's hoping the right cards aren't there for Fino.
Yeah.
I respect it. He just got put into a bad spot. And using a timeout early, I mentioned it. It's a disaster when it has to happen because you need that second one secure. And so even with as much card draw as Jarla had, he did run into some problems, which is, hand size going in, being able to fend off a board position that was very aggressive on Fino's side. And so one of the big ones I look at was just simply that Wild Pyromancer early on. How much did that hurt?
It faltered when he did not have a clear for those Oasis Surgers. If
Yeah.
he had had an Equality or a Shrink Ray, maybe things would have gone differently. But, I mean, looking at his deck, he only has 1 Equality and 1 Shrink Ray in there.
Yeah.
So sacrifices were made. Sometimes they don't pay off.
Yeah, Druid's a tough matchup, especially if they draw Nourish in that one. Whew. They get off to the races that
good
way.
card.
And so Fino ties up the score now at 1 game apiece. And going into game 3, I'll be kind of curious to see how this one works out now, because with Jarla, Priest has gotten a win in this one, and his Warrior was banned away. So it's Druid and Paladin left for Jarla, and on Fino's side, he's got Priest and Paladin to work with himself. I really don't want to queue up the Paladin.
That strikes me as you're always queuing Priest there.
So what does Jarla play then?
Well, it's whatever he thinks is better between Druid and Paladin. In
Well,
my
which one do you
opinion,
think is
in my
better?
opinion, I think Paladin would be slightly better, but we have seen people say that Druid has gotten significant gains in that matchup. It's still not favored for Druid. They say it's like 45-55, but a couple weeks ago people were saying 30-70 for Druid. So maybe Jarla has a different opinion on the matchup. I personally would go with Paladin. But that's just me.
All right, I'll be curious to see. I think both of these are favored for Fino.
I agree with that.
Whew.
Priest is a good deck.
He needs a favorable too. He's sitting at a 2-8 record. He has to win this one, Gallon. He absolutely has to win.
We got the news that Jarla has queued his Paladin up.
Yep.
Makes sense.
For Fino, though, I mean, it's still technically an option.
Between Priest and losing.
Not losing. I just know which one he's going to play.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, he looks pretty happy with how his mulligan went.
Well, hurry up, spectator client.
He had
Show me
2
the
fist
goods.
bumps.
I want to see it.
2 quick ones.
He looked pretty pumped about his hand.
Yeah.
What's your guess? Call the 3 cards right now. Go.
Cleric. Cleric? No, he can't have 3 clerics. Shield. Ooh, Northshire Cleric is good.
Yeah, I'll take Cleric Warden.
Just the one.
In the light.
Hey! That's pretty close.
So now for Jarla, though, Jarla does have the kind of hand I feel like that can start fending this off. Wild Pyro, Crystology, Coin,
He's
and
got
Flash
the
of
goods.
Light.
He's got the goods.
I'm not convinced that you play Crystology on turn 1 here, and it's going to require thought. Your turn 1 is shorter, but I'm looking at potential Wild Pyromancer counteractions, countermeasures to what's happening on board right now.
I think from Feno's perspective, he actually has a counter to Wild Pyromancer. He has one of the the best hands versus what Jarla wants to do. He can topsy-turvy his Light Warden into the Wild Pyromancer, can play 2 Clerics, just deny Jarla any play for the rest of the game. Jarla cannot play his Novice Engineers because Feno's going to profit off that more than Jarla will. He cannot play Thalnos. He cannot play Acolyte of Pain. He can maybe play Thakal, but then we're looking at turn 3, so you're still skipping turn 2.
So go ahead and draw your cards. Look for a better way to win this game.
Yes.
That was a tough. That is the toughest Christology that Jarla has ever played.
Someone injured?
Oh.
Is someone injured?
Generally don't call Hearthstone turns disgusting.
Especially not when it's just 1/3s.
This is pretty disgusting.
Like if this was 2 Dire Moles, I'd be like, wow, that's a good opener.
These are not Dire Moles.
Nope. They are not.
They're very much not Dire Moles. Dire Mole was a good card, by the way. It was a cool design. It wasn't like super good. It was like a lame Voidwalker, a lame Cleric. People still liked it, you know. You can't Crackling Razor Maw a Voidwalker, okay? You can Sacrificial Pact it. That doesn't sound nearly as good.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there. For all you Voidwalker lovers out there. Dire Mole is better.
Must move quickly.
Yeah.
Let me think.
Yeah, you tell them.
Yeah. You see what I mean about the Christology, though? Like, could you have taken a turn off again and tried to make something happen? Like, I'm not convinced it was there.
You want to save the Christology specifically for a Wild Pyromancer turn.
I don't know. Like, I feel like it's worse, but at the same time, like, I feel like I want hope as well. And this is where I always trap myself, is I do something weird and then, like, it snowballs out of control and I go, I wish I would have played that Christology.
Yeah, I mean, from Jarla's side, he did not know that the hand from Feno was double Cleric with a Light Warden, you know? He saw the Light Warden. It was literally worst case scenario where you could argue the Christology might not have been a good play.
All right, I'm looking at an early Shrink Ray from Jarla, and I think that's the hope. It's try to continue to deny card draw, get to a Shrink Ray, figure it out.
Let
If
me
you coin a True Silver here, you're taking 5 from the Light Warden.
What would you even kill? You'd probably kill the Light Warden with that play, right?
Well, I don't want to take 5 more.
Fair enough. You would go you'd go True Silver Champion this turn, hit twice. You'd still leave a Cleric in play. I'm kind of seeing what you're meaning about this coin Shrink Ray.
Yeah.
You follow up with hopefully a spell off the top, you Wild Pyromancer.
My experience from the Paladin side is that you just got to take risks and hope that they work out. And those risks come in a number of forms. I have at times just ripped turn 6 Holy Wraths because they're at 24 or whatever, and I'm like, hope this works. Because I just look at the board and I'm like, I'm not going to win.
Yeah.
I haven't farmed up one of those yet. The screenshots hit Twitter as soon as it happens, don't worry. But I feel for Jarla. This is a desperation spot, and his turn is pass. Yeah, it's tough.
If you think your opponent's going coin Shrink Ray, does that mean that Injured Blade Master is just the play here? Probably not,
I think
right?
you just keep getting development from this angle. Like, you're threatening so much on Jarla's side. And if Shrink Ray is the only way to get out of this spot, make him have a Shrink Ray.
You're happy with that, for sure.
You can make him have a Shrink Ray by doing nothing. How often is that?
Question being, does he need a Shrink Ray this turn? Can he get away with playing a True Silver Champion instead? You're playing with fire here, but that's how it always feels against Priest.
Toe that line.
You know who does a really good job of simplifying this matchup? Firebat. He's also really good at it.
Yeah, I think when Firebat's in form, he is one of the best players in the world.
Yeah. Firebat says, if you're not going to die, draw cards. And that's it. Just draw cards. If you're going to die, deal with the board. That requires a lot of thinking, though, because dying involves a lot of stuff from hand.
The problem is drawing cards here means that Feno gets to draw cards.
What I'm saying is, it feels like we're going to die in this spot. So we got to deal with the board.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the best way to do that?
Killing the thing that's going to kill you.
Excellent point.
Yep.
So now on Feno's side, how do you make them feel like they're going to die again?
Draw some cards. Play some stuff. I like the Neferset Ritualist because specifically he has 2. I think developing an extra 2-3 in board right now is what you want to do. There's some lines, like, let's say you had a single Neferset Ritualist, maybe instead of playing it, you just heal.
Well, there's something to be said about drawing Circle of Healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you enter Blade Master and heal, you can draw Circle of Healing, draw 2 more cards.
But then you're giving up a 2-3.
So that's the option. It's worth considering.
Yeah, it definitely is worth considering. Oh, the silence is huge.
Oh, that's massive.
Well, remember that Jarla could do the next level play of Shrink Raying and then killing the 4/7. It'll be a 1/1.
This is dangerous territory.
He can still play around it.
Fino's playing 2 copies of Silence.
Yep.
Something to think about. And again, when Jarla has his back against the wall, this is where he's playing some pretty prime Hearthstone. Like, I really hate to say that one of the best demonstrations you can get from a player is when they're in losing spots. But for Jarla, he has absolutely demonstrated that to a masterclass ability.
I absolutely agree. I remember, was it against Kalento last season where he had a brawl line that I just thought was so monstrously good.
Yeah.
From a bad spot. He ended up winning that game too.
Yeah, I know. He gets it.
He gets it, man.
He understands risks.
I love it. That play makes me so happy.
Recognize the silence. It's such a small little thing.
Is he still dead, though?
Silence 5, 10.
12.
I count 12.
12.
So that smells like Psychopomp to me. Do you ever sidekick in Divine Spirit one of your clerics to make sure you have one around?
Psychopomp can get a 1/2 or a 4/7, and you really want the 4/7, you don't want the 1/2. That's how I describe it.
They both have Reborn.
Reborn on a 4/7 minion is better than Reborn on a 1/2, because on a 1/2, stuff like Wild Pyromancer, Coin, Consecrate, or Coin, Wild Pyromancer, Consecrate. Hey!
Oh, boy.
That's the good one.
That is disaster. Jarla is going to be in timeout territory awfully quick.
Sitting in the corner. Does Jarla run Subdue?
Yes. Wait, no, not today.
He does not.
Not today. He brought 2 True Silvers this week.
If he ran Subdue, I wonder if there was a better thing. But he's not. Fino doesn't need to consider it. Like what he did. Something to think about.
All right. I think I see the line for Jarla.
Coin, Wild Pyromancer, Holy Wrath, the 4/7, hit a Shrivala.
Nope. True Silver, timeout, face. Fino's at 26. Heals to 28. True Silver face, rip a Holy Wrath.
That's what I said. But you wanted to kill him, and I just want to kill the board.
Yeah, I don't think that you're going to win if you try to kill the board. I really don't.
If you went Wild Pyromancer, Coin, Holy Wrath, kill the 47, the 4/7,
Move quickly.
kills the
Same
entire
thing.
board.
You kill the 4/7 or you kill the face.
We'll find out. If Shrivala's the next card, I'm right.
Either way,
Actually, no, that's a really bad.
mine's better then, because then you just win the game. However, if you Holy Wrath the 4/7, you don't necessarily have to draw Shrivala. You could draw...
Come on.
Wait, you do actually? Yeah, you have to actually. That's game. Fino. He's got the goods. Double Divine Spirit. 2 of them. Make that 28. And Fino picks up a big match win.
Love to see it, man. Fino is someone that is fighting for his life right now. This has to be a breath of fresh air, I'd say.
Absolute crucial victory. Psycho picked up the win. Now Fino picks up the win. Season 1 champion with Fino. He's headed to the global finals already and fighting for his life here in Season 2. And I'm telling you, I'm so happy to see it because I feel that pressure mounting with every single match that takes place with these players.
You know what? I feel like his attitude has actually been like really good for someone in a spot like his. He has not, succumbed to the pressure, I would say.
Yeah.
He is on the upswing here.
Yeah, I think it's really important. He expressed that in his interview last time we had him on as well, where he's just, think about where you're in. Stay calm, diffuse it, take it one step at a time. What else could you do?
That was a fantastic interview, by the way. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Give it an A+.
Me too.
Favorite interview so far of this season.
Well, we're going to be getting Fino ready for an interview here, and I'm trying to get myself ready because I can already feel it. It's so heartfelt from the players when they have to express these times. I mean, even Boston, like just talking about how much pressure he was under, and he's in the middle of the pack from that spot. It's a tough spot to be in. But Fino's ready for an interview. Fino, can you hear us?
Yeah, guys, what's up?
What's up is that you just blasted off in that game with the double fist pump at the start because the Northshire Cleric draw.
The Cleric, man. Like, I was praying. I was like, I practiced this matchup so much, and it always came down to the Cleric. And I don't know how Jarla did it, but I didn't draw a single card with Cleric, I think. Or I drew like 2, which was like pretty late. I just don't know. Cleric is so important in this game, and when I hit it, and I hit the good start, because that's how Priest loses. You just don't hit like a good start, and then Pala just has all the time in the world. And yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like there was just turns where he was passing, and that was legitimately his best play. He just couldn't play anything, really.
I was curious because he full kept also, and I was very scared. Like, he full kept, and then turn 1 he roped. I'm like, he's thinking about coining the 3-drop, and coining the 2-drop, the 3-2, which kind of contested me well, if I remember, because I was like, then I was really debating, like, if he coins the 2-drop, should I topsy-turvy my Light Warden to trade in? Like, I wasn't sure, but yeah, it turned out well.
Yeah, I encourage you to go back and watch the start of that, because that honestly was probably one of the toughest turn 1 through 3 sequences I've seen from Paladin's side in a long time.
Did you have a 3-2, Jarla?
He did. Yep.
His hand was tough. Like, there's so much going on with his hand and with yours as well. Like, by comparison, like the context I think matters a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. I mean, I don't have 3 years and a novel to write, so I can't do it. But I want to talk to you about this match. Psycho won his match earlier, and that put the ball back in your court, and now you've evened that right back up with a win here today.
Like, today is the first day after a very, 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 very long time that I was actually stressed. And I wasn't stressed about my game. I was stressed about Seiko's game. Because it's weird that I want him to lose. Like, I want a friend of mine to lose, It's really bad. But that's why I was stressed. I was more stressed about Seiko's game than I was about mine. Because, like, I'll still do everything I can to win, obviously. But it's like, his result is really important for me. So, So, and it feels terrible. It feels terrible to, like, want, like, such a close friend to lose, but it's the reality, right? Like, I'd rather he doesn't win. So
that's competition.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's very tough. I don't remember the last time I was in a situation like this, and I mean, it sucks, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Kind of not talking about strategy in this one. Did you catch the Around the Fern?
Yeah, I did. You mean ours, right?
Yeah. What did you think of it?
I mean, they cut a lot of stuff, but I still think it was good. But I think with the other stuff, it would have been better. Like, if they added the other stuff we talked about.
We filmed for a long time to cut it down to that spot.
But I feel we were talking too much, and the other people just didn't talk, And yeah, the Around the Fern vibe is to not talk that much.
Yeah.
When you don't talk, it's better.
That's my whole life, right? I talk too much.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of.
So kind of going back to strategy, you've been kind of going with like the tried and true lineup. You mentioned that you felt like Priest was powerful, that people are not protecting Priest, but we've been seeing a lot of success this week with players diverting away from that. Like, for instance, Boar Control, getting his aggro shaman banned away. Bunny and Casey both protecting non-Priest and different classes at that. Do you feel like that the edge in terms of like playing out the matchup has gotten closer? Like, what do you feel like is really the cause for that personally?
I feel people figured out like better decks against Priest, like obviously with Boar playing that Shaman deck, which is pretty good against it. People made their Warriors better against Priests. And, I mean, it's been losing to Druid somehow, which I, like, come on, you shouldn't lose to Druid. But Yeah, I've been trying to like switch my lineup up because I've been playing the same lineup like every week kinda, but I just can't. Like Orange had like a really good lineup that I was really close to submitting, but then I'm like, he doesn't play Holy Rathpala, and Holy Rathpala is like the only deck that I'm good at this meta, I feel. So I can't just no play it. And I feel like even the edges you get there are just like super small, and it really depends on what you think about certain matchups. For example, like Bunny thinks that like Shaman is super favored against Druid, let's say, you know, I think the opposite. And it really comes down to what you think about certain matchups. And I mean, that's a lineup I feel comfortable with. That's the decks I've played all season, so I didn't just want to change it now at the end when it's the most important games and play a deck that I haven't played. For example, like Mage or something like that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. You know, just go with what you know and hope for the best.
If any time, it's this time to play what you're comfortable with, I feel.
Indeed, my friend. Fino, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on your win. It's a big one here for you. 3 matches left. Keep it up, brother.
Yeah, take care.